Hey guys, I guess you got into the blizzard in Chattanooga, Tennessee. Wow, who would have thought? We were up in Chicago at Thanksgiving, and a lot of Chicagoans were asking us if it ever snowed down here. So here's proof: we had a blizzard. We couldn't leave yesterday. We did get out this afternoon. Things started to melt a little bit, but now we're headed way back down to 20 degrees. And what a difference a week makes. I mean, a week ago, I'm with my brothers and my nephews, and they're telling people I stole a bunch of records when I was 10 or 11 years old, and my dad broke them. And, now here we are a week later, and my brothers are dealing with an unimaginable catastrophe within days of them getting back to Southern California. Um, you know, I have firsthand experience, and I'm going to share that with you. Back in 1991, and I was working on the Use Your Illusions records for Guns N' Roses. Motley Crue had exploded. It was just a really insane time in my life. And I'm sitting at the office, and I get a phone call from my brother, and he says, "Have you turned on the news?" And I said, "No." He goes, "Well, there's a fire in the canyon about 10 miles from your house, but it's burning towards the ocean. I think you need to leave work, and I need to meet you there. And we need to figure out what we're going to save." So I took my brother's advice, and I drove home from work immediately. Everyone from the office was like, "Yeah, you need to leave. This is a real thing out here in California." So I went home. My brother met me there, and he drove his Jeep up, and I took my Range Rover back, and I had a BMW sitting in the driveway. Anyway, you know, when you go through your house and you're trying to figure out what to keep, and we've been running a series about recovered stuff and stuff that was stolen. And the thing about a fire is, if you don't put it in your car and leave, it's not ever going to be recovered. It's going to turn to dust. So anyway, here I am, and we're going through, and I'm thinking about, like, my desktop computer that's got everything that ever happened in my life on it. And I'm looking at all this expensive stuff in the house. And and my brother was smart. He said, "You know what? Take pictures. Take pictures of everything, because the expensive stuff, the insurance company will give you the money for it. But, grab all your pictures and videos and souvenirs and mementos." And so that's what we did. And we loaded up both cars. Now, I was lucky because I had a former Army Navy reservoir of water, and I had a gas pump to pump from that. And so we pulled out the gas pump, fired it up, dropped the intake into the water reservoir, which had been converted to a swimming pool. And my brother got up on the roof, and I fed him the hose. And it's hard for two people to handle a pressurized hose. I got to feel for what the firemen go through. Anyway, my brother's up on the roof, and I'm feeding him the hose from the pool and making sure the pump's running. And, all of a sudden, he says to me, he says, "Man, the end of the hose, the water's just turning to steam." And I'm like, "There's no way." So I walk around the other side of the house, and I look, and I see this raging inferno headed towards us. It's maybe 2 to 3 football fields away, and I smell my hair start to burn. And I look at my brother, and I go, "I think we got to go now." And my neighbor was a Culver City fireman, and he said that he was going to stay, that he had a fire tent and all this stuff that you need to fight wildfires. And so he said he would save my house. And as we were leaving, we saw my neighbors on the other side were in their truck, and we told them, "Man, forget about putting more stuff in it. We got to leave. The fire is almost here." And Ashley Judd lived one other house away behind me, and I shouted at her because she was loading her car, and I said, "Man, we got to go now. It's time to leave." And so we all drove down, and we got to Pacific Coast Highway, and halfway down Pacific Coast Highway, they were telling us to jump out of our cars and hit the ocean. Now, lucky for us, the flames didn't jump Pacific Coast Highway and burn any of the houses right on the water like it did a couple of days ago. Malibu will never be the same. We were out in Malibu about a month ago, and everything that we saw almost has now burned down in this new fire. 15,000 houses destroyed. So we finally got to Hollywood, where I had a second house that my brothers were staying in, and we watched the news, and we saw like a helicopter, and it was flying over my house, and my house was there. Ashley Judd's house was there, and it looked like we were going to survive it. And then the next day we saw footage, and I thought I saw my house burning, because these things burn for a few days. They don't go out right away. So I chartered a helicopter. And remember, this is in the height of Guns N' Roses are exploding, and Motley Crue's exploding, Edie Brickell is exploding, Enya's exploding. I have 5 out of the top 20 records on the Billboard charts. So I hired a helicopter, and because I had to know if my house was there. Well, we flew over it, and it was burning like I knew it was burning. My fireman neighbor, his house was still there, and Ashley's house was burning, and my other neighbors were burning, and I thought I saw their pickup truck burnt out. And I discovered in the news a couple of days later that they didn't leave when the rest of us left, and they burned up in their truck. They were the only 2 fatalities. And, it shows you how precious life can be. I mean, a week ago, we're celebrating Christmas and New Year's with my brothers and my nephews from Cali. And a week later, they're waiting for evacuation orders and watching these fires head closer and closer to them. So anyway, Ashley Judd and I were pretty good friends, and she was nice to my daughter, and we would hang out sometimes. And, she ended up going to New York, and I kind of lost track of her. She was the hostess at a restaurant called the Ivy in Beverly Hills that I used to eat a lot at, and that's how we became friends. But she went to New York, and the next thing you know, she's getting Academy Awards and acting, and, and has this whole big successful career as an actress. And, life really changed, and kind of the pivotal moment for me was about 8 or 9 months later. My property, there was a landslide, because the fire takes all the vegetation and the roots off the hill that hold the ground together. So 6, 8 months after the fire, I'm up there, and the earth starts moving, and this big crack opens up, and my contractor says to me, "We got to leave now, or we're not going to get my truck across that crack." And it was really, really, really sad, but the properties became unbuildable. And and then there was this big earthquake where the house I was living at on Malibu Road, right on the water, up on stilts, I mean, I thought it was going to shake into the water. And my fireman neighbor, I went up to see him, and he was crying, because he said I was lucky that I got an insurance settlement, and because they don't cover landslide. And anyway, so sorry about that, the chair keeps sliding on me. But anyway, so he lost everything, because his wasn't covered. And the other sort of sad thing about the house was I bought it from Peter Cetera. If you don't know who he is the lead singer of Chicago. And what an amazing voice. And 3 days after the fire, when we could finally get up there, and I was searching for some precious stones and some jewelry and stuff, and I had this like sundial case, a ceramic case that I'd gotten in Italy. And it was literally the only thing that survived the fire, and the stuff in it was halfway melted, but it survived. And I've held on to that, to kind of remind me of that phase of my life. It was such a beautiful house. You could see all the way from Long Beach up to Oxnard, and, just gone in a poof. Ironically, the pool house next to this big reservoir of water survived. It's just crazy that it survived until the landslide. But yeah, I saw Peter Cetera at the closing, and we were up at the house, and he was crying because the house was special to him too, even though he had sold it, to me. So my heart goes out to everybody that's dealing with these fires in Southern California. And it's an experience that you never forget. It does teach you that the things that matter to you most are your pets, and your family, and the stuff that you got from your great-grandfather and your grandfather and your grandmother. And, if you're in that position, man, grab the things that are important to you. and take them, and because you can't fit everything in a car, take pictures of all the other stuff, because the insurance company will settle with you. I want to thank everybody for watching episode 4, wherever you watched it: YouTube, TikTok, Facebook Reels, Instagram. And I would ask everybody to please like, follow, subscribe, all of my channels. And I want to say one last thing, which is TikTok is supposedly going to be shut down on the 19th. I don't know if we'll be allowed to post new stuff on there. I think if you already have the app, you'll still be able to access what's there. But we don't really know what's going to happen. But, you can always go to my YouTube channel, which is, @Can You Get Me In. Find my YouTube channel, like and subscribe there, and you can watch everything there if TikTok becomes no longer valid. But the follow, likes, and subscribes really help us here to put out our stuff. And I promise you that in the future, I've got some amazing guests coming, including one that I've known since I was a teenager. And, he ended up having a pretty successful band. And, you'll have to watch for some sneak previews of that. That's coming up. And I've got a whole bunch of amazing things planned for 2025. One of the things I wanted to talk about, which I didn't get to because of all these things that are going on in the world. I want to talk about 2025, trends in music, what people are forecasting. And if you have any ideas or questions or things you'd like me to talk about, some of you would ask me to do a live event where I'll answer questions about any of the people I've worked with, and I'm working on that as well. I'm excited for 2025 in spite of this blizzard. In spite of so many folks, dealing with these fire catastrophes in California. Anyway, go to my YouTube page, my TikTok page, my Instagram, any of my Facebook pages, like, subscribe, and follow. And I'll tell you what, I appreciate all the support that you guys gave me and liked the episode with my brothers. And I think it's time to make a Tennessee Snow Angel, the first one for 2025.